Welcome back, everyone. This is going to be my new Guardians of the Galaxy 3 video. Marvel just made some big announcements with the release of the Thor Love and Thunder trailer. Obviously, that gives you a pretty good idea for where they pick up in the storyline. I'll talk more about what's going on with Adam Warlock, and there's also a one-off prequel episode for Guardians 3 that they're releasing at the end of the year. I'll explain how that sets up Guardians 3. They also just brought back one of the big Celestials featured in the first Guardians of the Galaxy movie for another story that I'll explain. So if you're brand new to the channel, be sure to subscribe to get all the videos. We've got more Moon Knight episodes, and Doctor Strange 2 is about to come out, and it's going to get really crazy. I'll be doing videos for everything. It's going to be really cool.
Not me. What? Just listening.
But just starting with all the Guardians of the Galaxy stuff in the Thor Love and Thunder trailer, this is basically the timeline for where everything is taking place and picking up. Obviously, there's a big montage of the Guardians of the Galaxy and Thor with them, the Asgardians of the Galaxy, whatever you want to call it. Them slowly getting tired of all of Thor's comedy and just telling him to go off and do his own thing. But he gets a couple big costume changes, and obviously there's the montage of him getting all swole. The present day of Thor Love and Thunder is supposed to take place around the time Doctor Strange 2 is happening. So Scarlet Witch and Doctor Strange are supposed to be messing with the multiverse around the same time Gorr the God Butcher is just going on a tear, killing all these gods and fighting Thor. One of the reasons why Doctor Strange isn't on hand to try and stop Gorr the God Butcher from killing all the MCU gods. So the montage of Thor with the Guardians of the Galaxy and the Ravagers is meant to take place in the past, so that part will probably take place before the events of Spider-Man No Way Home. Although I think based on the way they cut the montage, it's actually meant to be happening in a relatively short time span. Like, I think the funny joke here they're playing with it is that he goes from being fat Thor to working out really quickly into being swole Thor. Like, wow, that didn't take any time at all. Just to show you how lazy he's been in the past. Like, oh, he could have gotten swole anytime he wanted in no time flat. Just another joke about his powers in being a god, and one of the reasons why Gorr the God Butcher is killing all the gods, because a lot of them are really, really lazy. But like when he shows up in his Ravager's costume, and it's designed to look kind of like the Eric Masterson Thunderstrike costume from the 80s, and it's got some classic Thor Easter eggs like the yellow boots, he's got the World Tree shirt on, he's even got that hat with the classic Jack Kirby Avengers logo on it, and Strongest written in Sharpie, but like the Thunderstrike jacket is a Ravager's jacket, that's why it's red. That's why during the montage, you see him sort of walk off and leave by himself wearing his old Avengers Endgame costume while the Guardians are in the middle of some random attack, and you see Star-Lord just roll his eyes into the back of his head like he absolutely cannot stand Thor. Like this becomes the last straw. The Kree and the Frost Giants are the only two real big blue-skinned races that we've seen in the MCU so far, so I'm guessing that this might be some offshoot of the Kree race. But then they have that funny scene where he tries to give him that sage advice about Thor finding his path in the universe, and Thor gets all confused and thinking that it's Star-Lord's eyes that he's staring into. Thor then goes off and finds out about Gorr the God Butcher, gets his next Golden Thor costume upgrade with the pelt on it, then goes back to New Asgard, and you pick up with the main part of the story. In the Guardians of the Galaxy, take off on their own to go find the 2014 version of Gamora and just continue with the day-to-day of helping out and robbing people, earning money while they're trying to do that. So just based on the Guardians of the Galaxy trailer footage and all this, it seems like they take off before Gorr the God Butcher shows up and starts slaying everybody. Peter Quill would technically be able to escape Gorr on a technicality because Ego the Living Planet told him that he was a little G-God and Star-Lord is still half Celestial, but technically the Celestials are not actual gods, they're just really, really powerful cosmic beings. A lot of you also asking if Ego lied about being a Celestial. No, I don't think he lied about that. I think he just meant to be a botched Celestial, like a rogue Celestial. The way that Arishem the Judge talked about it, not everything always went perfect. But if Peter Quill were to boast about being half little G-God in front of Gorr, Gorr would probably still try to kill him just out of spite. But we've learned that Adam Warlock is going to be played by Will Poulter. James Gunn speaks very highly of him, so I assume he's going to be pretty badass during the movie. He's kind of like their version of a Vision-type character, like this perfect creation designed to destroy what they hate. The Sovereign will give him a similar mission to destroy the Guardians of the Galaxy, but just like Vision wound up siding with the Avengers, Adam Warlock will probably eventually wind up siding with the Guardians of the Galaxy, and they'll find a way to stop the Sovereign. Adam Warlock was evil when he was first debuted in the comics, but then he had a storyline like Vision's in the MCU, this big morality tale about him being super enlightened, super cosmic, and super powerful, so trying to figure out what he was supposed to be doing with all this power in the MCU, but being a generally good character. That's one of the jokes about Vision. Like we talk about White Vision, technically he and Scarlet Witch are like two of the most powerful characters we have in the MCU, so they always had to find funny ways to sidelight them in stories because, like in Civil War, Vision shows up and almost stops everyone dead in their tracks. Like, if he'd wanted to, he could have taken out every single member that was part of that fight. But I think going forward, he will be kind of like a Vision-type character, like he'll work with the other MCU characters in a more cosmic sense, the more cosmic stories. And his storyline, being evil, turning good, is also meant to dovetail with what's happening with Nebula, the younger version of Gamora, and I believe even Rocket's story. As a lot of you probably seen, they've flipped the Nebula-Gamora story from the earlier Guardians of the Galaxy films again, where it was Gamora who had turned good and was trying to rescue Nebula and teach her not to be so obsessed with Thanos and not be so evil. They kind of already started doing that during Avengers Endgame, like Nebula had become part of the Avengers and working with them, and then she was trying to save the younger version of Gamora, like, listen, you don't have to be like this.
We become friends. We become sisters.
So that's going to be a big part of the movie, is the Nebula-Gamora storyline. And I believe I mentioned this before, but one of the major villains, or major antagonists, according to James Gunn, is going to be Myrn from the Peacemaker series. Supposedly, he's going to be playing the MCU High Evolutionary. James Gunn said that he liked his performance during the Peacemaker series so much that he brought him back for Guardians of the Galaxy 3 as this big villain character.
Warlock gave me soldiers. Instead, it's an apple dumpling gang.
Who are the apple dumpling gang?
Incompetent dinguses.
But they always triumph in the end.
The rumor is that it's going to be MCU High Evolutionary who actually created Rocket or tried to upgrade him in the first place, made all those experiments to him, because that is kind of the High Evolutionary's MO, trying to enhance everyone. There was a big Easter egg for High Evolutionary during Guardians of the Galaxy 2. The planet that they crash land on is named Burhurt. That was an anagram for Herbert Edgar Wyndham, the High Evolutionary's original human name, just meant to foreshadow him eventually showing up in the story. He is super weird. I cannot wait to see what James Gunn does with the character. If you're a big comic book fan too, he's also got a lot of deep-cut connections to Scarlet Witch and Quicksilver's origin story, but they might change that for the MCU version of the character. Because we have the multiverse, they could always say that the High Evolutionary encountered young Scarlet Witch, young Quicksilver in some alternate universe. In the trailer footage, Groot is still teenage Groot, but during Guardians 3, he's supposed to grow into his most powerful form. Vin Diesel just called himself Alpha Groot, like alpha male.
Thor will also, the director talked to me about how Thor will incorporate some of the Guardians of the Galaxy, which would be very interesting. Nobody knows, but maybe I shouldn't have said anything. But I only have two words about that character, and it is Alpha Groot.
Basically what that means is that he'd be even more hardcore than the original version you saw in the first Guardians of the Galaxy movie. And if we're casting lots, early prediction is that Rocket is going to be the one to sacrifice himself to save everyone this time, and it becomes a big callback twist to Groot sacrificing himself in the first movie. That's kind of the arc that Rocket has been on in the MCU. Like, Rocket starts as a super guarded, selfish character, becoming truly selfless by the end. James Gunn's been pretty clear that he doesn't have plans to do a fourth Guardians of the Galaxy movie, but he did say that the team would eventually come back in the MCU, and if they did come back, it would be a different roster. Adam Warlock, for instance, was a big member of the team during the story that they adapted for the first movie. Karen Gillan also said that she really wanted to do a Nebula Marvel series on Disney+, so some of the team will be back, and you'll see some noobs on the team. The Guardians of the Galaxy 3 holiday special this Christmas is the prequel episode for the movie. It'll be live action, required viewing, and James Gunn said that it's inspired by the Star Wars holiday special, so it'll be a mixture of just like the next part of the story and just a lot of funny moments. Like, a big part of the Star Wars holiday special was introducing Chewbacca's family, introducing the concept of Life Day, which was like the Star Wars equivalent of your birthday, and it was the first time they introduced the Boba Fett character, so it might be the first time we actually see Adam Warlock on screen as some kind of small cameo, or maybe even the High Evolutionary. The other huge announcement is that they're also bringing back the celestial Eson the Searcher for the new Guardians of the Galaxy time travel story that's part of their new attraction, showing you more of what he actually looks like in his full form. They've tuned him up a little bit from what he looked like in his previous depiction in that first Guardians of the Galaxy movie when the Collector was explaining the origin of the Infinity Stones. The new project is called Cosmic Rewind, and because it's a story outside the movies and the shows, technically I think it's meant to be alternate universe, but this is what he would look like if they brought him back again in present-day MCU. The Collector never said that Eson had died, so theoretically he's still alive out there somewhere in present day and a member of the current version of the Celestial Host. But I will do more videos on all the cosmic entities in the MCU, the gods, the Celestials, as we get more Easter eggs. Moon Knight and Doctor Strange 2 are just the next place that's happening right now. So if you have any more questions about what's going on with the Guardians of the Galaxy, just post them in the comments below. Everyone click here for my brand new Doctor Strange 2 trailer video, and click here for my Moon Knight Episode 5 trailer video. Thank you so much for watching, everyone stay safe, and I'll see you guys in the next one.